Hi there, I'm Chef Eric Crowley, owner of the Culinary Classroom in West Los Angeles, and today I'm going to show you how to sear tuna and serve it with Romesco sauce. To start off with seared tuna, we're going to need a extremely hot pan. A cast iron skillet will definitely be the best tool if you have one. If not, any kind of skillet with a really thick bottom will do the job just fine, but cast iron is definitely going to be the way to go. We also are going to need some tuna. Here I have some ahi tuna steaks that are about ½ inch thick, some salt and some pepper to season the tuna, small amount of oil, say about a teaspoon or so, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan in order to do the searing. And for 2 servings, going to need about 1 cup of Romesco sauce. The skillet I have on a medium-high heat. Want to get the skillet really nice and hot. And then pour in just enough vegetable oil to cover the bottom of the skillet. And olive oil I don't recommend for this because you need to get the skillet very hot. Grapeseed oil, canola oil, corn oil, all of those oils will do really well. Spin that skillet around. The oil is actually starting to shimmer right away. After about 30 seconds or so, it's going to start to smoke, and that's actually what I want. I want the oil to be at the smoking point. I want it really hot. If you're looking to cook your tuna or literally sear it and keep it really nice and rare on the inside, if you have a tuna steak like this that's about ½ inch thick, you're going to cook it anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds on one side, flip it over and cook it about 30 to 45 on the other side. And then you can take it off, put it onto a clean cutting board, let it cool. You could even serve it room temperature with Romesco sauce. That would be a great warm weather appetizer or warm weather first course. If you want to cook it well done, then you're going to be looking at about 2 minutes on each side. And medium, where it's going to have just a little bit of pink on the inside, I would say a minute on each side, maybe a minute and a half maximum. Keep in mind that if you're going to cook it very long, getting towards the medium or the well done state, after you take it out of the pan, you let it sit on your clean cutting board. It is going to continue to cook for about another 30 seconds. Well done for a tuna like this, I don't recommend because the meat is very lean. It has no fat in it, and it's going to be really dry. So we're starting to get some wisps of smoke from my cast iron skillet. We're going to season up the fish rather, with a little bit of salt, nice pinch of kosher salt, and sprinkle it on the steaks. I definitely recommend and suggest to all my students, you don't want to season proteins like this until you're just ready to cook them. If you have other seasonings like pepper, for example, or spices, you can get them in. But salt, the longer it sits, the more it's going to start to draw moisture out of the meat, and it's just going to help speed up any kind of drying quality. So after I have a nice sprinkle, I usually like to take it and I'll press it in. And you could go ahead and you can flip the steaks over and you can season the other side. I usually will put this side into the skillet and then season the other side while it's in the skillet and while it's cooking. We'll make sure our skillet is really nice and hot. We're talking about some smoke, which you can see. You could also take whatever you're cooking and dip it into the pan. It should sizzle very vigorously. And while they're in the pan, I'm going to get some salt and pepper on the other side. You could even do this outside on a barbecue if you like. Get that barbecue really hot. One of the things you'll see is that the meat is actually starting to cook. You can see it climb up on the side and how it's changing color. If you want it rare, you're going to go ahead and flip it now. If you want it medium, I'm going to let it go for about another 30 seconds. And then I'm going to flip it. You can use some tongs for this particular fish because it is pretty sturdy, or you could use a spatula, whatever works best for you. The first thing that's going to happen when the meat hits the skillet is it's going to stick to it. So you want to leave it alone for at least a good 30 seconds to 45 seconds and let a really good crust develop on it. Flip it on over. You can see I got a nice golden brown on the tuna. back into the pan. And I'm going to let it cook just until I start to see a little band of pink on the inside of the steak. And there we are. And before we start to slice it, as I mentioned before, you want to let it cool off. It's really important also when you wind up slicing the tuna that you observe where the flake of the fish is. If I wind up taking this and I give it just a little angle towards the camera, you can see these lines going along here. There's actually, when it was raw, there were some concentric circles of all the flake of the tuna. That's basically muscle fibers is what those are. So when it comes time to slicing it, it's really important that you cut against that flake. If you wind up cutting with it, then it's going to, you're going to wind up getting slices that are going to be just long muscle fibers, and they're going to be really tough to chew. So after the tuna is rested for a little while, we can go ahead and we can start to slice it. As I mentioned before, the flake of the fish is basically a series of ever-widening rings, kind of like the rings on a cut tree. So I'm going to take my knife, I'm actually going to start to cut this way, so I start to take those slices and start to bisect that muscle fiber. Chef's knife will wind up working really well for this. I usually will actually take the knife and hold it at a little bit of an angle. And you want to use a good sawing motion with the knife. Don't press down or else you're going to wind up really crushing the meat. And a nice little saw, back and forth. That back and forth motion is what's going to do the cutting. Take these and you can arrange them out on a platter. I put a little bit of Romesco sauce on the platter to start off with, or the plate. And if you so like, since you have some extra Romesco sauce, you can even finish it. Maybe get a little bit of dollop on the end of each piece. Maybe serve a little bit on the side. There you have some seared tuna with Romesco sauce. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click on other links so you can get other recipes. If you don't see something that interests you, email a request to requests@mahalo.com. Also be sure to subscribe so you can get lots of wonderful additional information. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.